So the commitment that those pioneers had then, and so the monument again speaks volume, and we're reminded of that every time we come down the road on our entrance and exit from the campus. Education, access to education is key. Dr. Frederick D. Patterson is known for many achievements, and I listed them there. But notably, he is the founder of the School of Veterinary Medicine. It was envisioned in 1944. That's when it got started. And he was able to find a dean and faculty to start the first class in 1945. I say that with some kind of determination. If you say grit, I say that he had it. He was a veterinarian who graduated from Iowa State University with roots at Prairie View. He served as the third president of Tuskegee University and interim dean of the School of Veterinary Medicine for 1 year. An interesting fact, Tuskegee University has had 3 veterinarians to serve in various presidential roles. I thought about that. So today, veterinarians have leadership skills and demonstrated more so in higher education and in the political arena. If you just think about it, look at the number of veterinarians who are now serving beyond the dean's level, provost, vice provost, etc., beyond the dean's level in the last 5 years. So it is demonstrated that veterinary medicine prepares us as leaders, whether it is local, national, or global. So we're thankful for the veterinary profession. And as students in this symposium, doesn't matter which school you're attending, that school or that college is preparing you to be a leader in the veterinary profession. We just had our 75th anniversary celebration. We're 75 years old. And unfortunately, it had to be virtual in this COVID environment. Another challenge, but it was fine. And it was successful. It gave us an opportunity to reflect on our educational opportunity that Tuskegee University gave us to be veterinarians and be impactful in the veterinary profession. So throughout our training at Tuskegee University, we're always reminded to be grateful and be thankful for getting an opportunity to be a veterinarian, to go on to do an internship, to go on to residency programs, to go on to get PhDs, to go on and be researchers and make significant contributions in the research world. For me, I'm grateful because when I graduated in 1977, I wanted to be a surgeon, but that was not in my stars. And so when Dr. Aberdade and Patricia Lowry came down to recruit, because it was an excellent pipeline program to Michigan State University, and said, Ruby Perry, you going to Michigan State? And I said, I don't think so. And the rest is history. Because she said, there's an opportunity for you to be a radiologist. Well, shoot, I wasn't even interested in radiology. But Tuskegee gave me that opportunity and prepared me for whatever track or career path I took. And so for that, I am grateful. In addition to Iowa State University and Cornell University, these are the 5 universities that Dr. Patterson recruited his first faculty members. It is interesting to note that from 1889 to 1948, which is a period of 59 years, a total of only 70 African Americans graduated from veterinary colleges in the United States and Canada. It is noteworthy that Kansas State University led the way with 22 graduates, followed by The Ohio State University with 14. Now, although only 70 at that time, that is considered a significant number during a time when education was not as accessible as today. So these universities led the way with a commitment to educating Black veterinarians. So what has happened with those numbers today? Why did the momentum stop around diversity and inclusion? Very impactful so many years ago. And so these universities should still be leading. I am going to say one day that Tuskegee is not the most diverse. There's going to be other universities that's going to step up to that. That is not diverse. I would like to say that students of color can go anywhere they want to go, any school that has a veterinary program that they want to go to, that are going to be supported, and the dedication would be there for them to be successful and achieve their DVM degree. That way, that is the only way that we can change the landscape of the veterinary profession. Kansas State was #1. It can be #1 again. And we're appreciative of those universities that gave Black veterinarians an opportunity. Otherwise, Dr. Patterson would not have had anybody to pull to come to Tuskegee and start a school of veterinary medicine. So we are thankful. So this is a photo of the first faculty members who left their employment. Most of them were with the federal government, because that's where they could, and there was some in private practice as well. It's amazing what those veterinarians that are pictured here, some are not pictured, the livelihood that they had, that those universities gave them an opportunity to achieve their career goal and their dream. So they gave all of that up to come to a segregated South. So whatever you do, it's going to take commitment, it's going to take courage if you want to make a difference. And so we see this picture all the time when we talk about the history. But they left their livelihood and they came to a segregated South, subjected to racism, socioeconomic challenges, and all the other ills, to teach with little pay. But their commitment and focus was clear. They wanted to increase the number of students of color in the veterinary profession. So their commitment paid off. And to them, we're thankful. So the beginning of our legacy, as I mentioned already, from for those faculty members, including Dr. Patterson. He could have gone any place else. But they came to a segregated educational system and a segregated South. So the challenges were there. They were great. But they overcame them. And they began the work, committed to do the work, to educate African American and minority veterinarians. So let's get started. So we were envisioned in 1945. We have not wavered from our mission. We have not wavered from our legacy. This is what we do. And we're proud of it. And we'd be willing to share with anybody because it's not that difficult. You just gotta want to do it. So that we started with 13 students. And I'm making a note with Dr. Saul Wilson here, and because I'm gonna feature him in a minute. 13 students, only 5 graduated. 5. I guess we can thank those schools for preparing them well. 5 graduated. But also note that gender in the very first class was a female. So gender is recognized as an important piece in recruitment efforts, even back then. So Dr. Alfreda Johnson Webb, and I'm gonna feature her in a minute as well. So she's sitting there on that front row. And thank you, Dr. Webb, for paving the way for the rest of the women who came in the years to follow. So telling our story. Well, I also want to say for this slide that we also had to go through AVMA Council on Education, which the school was accredited before this class graduated. So that was part of the strategic planning and of the visionary leaders of the school when it was envisioned. So telling our story, and then it's just not people of color. Everybody, they tell you should be able to tell your story in the elevator speech. What do you stand for? What is your mission? So although we have many firsts, we pride ourselves with the honor of being the first. However, it comes with a commitment to pave the way for others to follow. So you might say, oh gosh, I'm a first, but for us, we are committed to make it better for the person following us. So that means we have to get it right. We have to, and we don't get it right all the time, the first time. They're challenges, but we have to be the role models, and we have to overcome those challenges, the struggles, the obstacles that put in front of us, so that the others following us would have it better. So the remaining slides, I just want to feature a few of those first. And those who have made significant contributions that I thought, there are many. When I went back and read and did my research, there were so many, but I can't feature them all because I got to talk about diversity, inclusion, and wellness. But there was one in contributions to research. So in the contributions to research, I decided to feature Dr. Walter C. Bowie. Dr. Walter C. Bowie was the dean when I went to vet school. Now, it sounds like I'm older than I look. I just want you to think that I'm older than I look. So we got a young Walter C. and we have a senior Walter C. We know him by the picture to the right, the senior Walter C. Bowie. Dean of Deans is what he was referred as. So he received his DVM degree from Kansas State University in 1947. Here we go again, Kansas. Then he was recruited to Tuskegee as a department head of physiology and pharmacology. As soon as he finished his DVM, amazing. He was elected the president of the American Association of Veterinary Physiologists and Pharmacologists in 1964. Leadership, even back then. Amazing how the graduates of color had these opportunities. And what did they do? They came back to give back and pave the way for others to follow. And I remember him well. He established a large animal cardiovascular center and performed the first open heart surgery on a horse. Mitral valvular transplant. And then he was appointed dean in 1972. Remember him well. We're small. And so therefore we know, we remember these pioneers and we don't forget them. So I found this article and it shows Dr. Bowie here on the left, and then Dr. Hawthorne from Howard University on the right, in their laboratory, in this research lab, performing surgery, doing physiology experiments. We don't really hear much about Walter C. Bowie as a researcher. I heard, and we have for us from Tuskegee, he did that work out at Moulton Field, which is the where the airplanes used to come in and out. So we don't hear much about that. So I'm going to actually include that in our history legacy when I present it to the first year students. A pioneer, research, surgery, open heart surgery. Thank you, Dr. Bowie. Veterinary medical education contributions. Dr. Saul T. Wilson, Jr. Dr. Saul T. Wilson was here when I came back to Tuskegee the second time. I was at Michigan State for almost 25 years on faculty as a radiologist. And so each time I came back, he was here. And he used to always tell me, Dr. Perry, you've got to be involved in organized veterinary medicine. Take the time. That's why every time I would see him. And so I already knew that because I was a member of the Michigan Veterinary Medical Association. I believe in organized veterinary medicine because that's where your voice is heard. So I was a member there. And as soon as I got to Alabama, I joined the Alabama VMA. So although I'm the dean, but I'm also a member. So I have a voice as well. And so thank you, Dr. Saul T. Wilson, Jr. But for his contributions, and this is an internship that many students probably have gotten on this call because of Dr. Wilson, the USDA Pathways Program. And deans should know about this program for your students. And it offers them opportunities to work in agriculture and science-related fields. So this scholarship still exists. And it gives students a one-year internship and with the potential possibility of a permanent position with APHIS. So who is Dr. Wilson? A man that is tall and speaks boldly. He dedicated his professional career to public veterinary medicine, where he did his work with APHIS. And then he retired from Tuskegee University in 1989. During his federal career, he made outstanding contributions to the health of the nation's livestock and poultry industries. He also played an essential role in eradicating foot and mouth disease from Mexico in the 1950s, helping protect our country against reinfection from the devastating animal disease, a commitment that he had. And APHIS, USDA APHIS, then honored him with this internship. So he made a long-lasting impact on APHIS and the field of public veterinary medicine. So today, his actions still remain to inspire students to practice public veterinary medicine, a legacy that he left. He didn't just do it for himself, he did it for others to follow. So thank you, Dr. Saul T. Wilson. Contributions to public health. Now this is where that One Health concept comes in. And even though human MDs don't recognize veterinarians like they should, but that doesn't mean that we're not to waver on what we know about public health, our contributions as veterinarians. And that's another area that's going to need some work, so that we can demonstrate that we are significant in the One Health concept. This one I learned more about. Dr. Ferguson was the dean when I was at Michigan State. So he, in his work, started his initiatives for the Student Enhancement Fellowship Program, known as RISE. They just honored him, I think last month, for his contributions. So his focus was to design a program to promote diversity among future public health leaders. Thank you, Dr. Ferguson. Diversity. So important, key, needed. Opportunities for students to engage in a wide range of public health projects and research. That was his goal. And that long-standing program that Dr. Ferguson started is considered a crown jewel with the CDC. And so his legacy remains. Here we go again, his legacy. So legacy is what you start that's going to sustain so that others can have an opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Ferguson. Contributions to service. I've already talked about Dr. Elfrida Johnson Webb. A woman started veterinary medicine in 1945, took some courage, and she made it through the first time. She was the first, as I mentioned, from Tuskegee as a the first female veterinary graduate. And this, I did not know, that she was the first African-American female to be licensed to practice veterinary medicine in the United States. Again, as I say this, I'm going to say it first a lot. It's an honor to be first. But what comes with that is such a commitment to pave the way, something that we know that we have to do. So because of her contributions as a pioneer in veterinary medical education. She is claimed by 3 universities of higher education. Tuskegee University, it was Tuskegee Institute at that time, but it's Tuskegee University. North Carolina A&T, and now North Carolina State College of Veterinary Medicine, where an endowed scholarship has been named, has been given in her name. And the purpose is to educate students from underrepresented groups. Another leader, another pioneer paving the way. So thank you, Dr. Lund. She's a champion of justice and democracy, standing on what she knows is right. And she has stood without wavering for so many years. And so I want to thank her for her contributions. Dr. Roscoe Moore, another one. I remember Dr. Moore when I was at Michigan State. But when I looked up him, I didn't know some things about him. So he was the Assistant Surgeon General in the United States. And for over 40 years, he's focused on the prevention, treatment, and control of infectious diseases worldwide. These silent warriors, silent pioneers, just do the work. Don't say much about your story. So it takes someone else to tell the story. So until his retirement, he served with the United States Department of Health and Human Services, known as HHS, and was, for the last 12 years of his career, the principal person responsible for global development support with the Office of the Secretary. He had a primary emphasis on continental Africa and other less developed countries of the world. He represented the HHS in cooperative international efforts with African nations in addressing continued health and human resource issues. Another person of service. And thank you, Dr. Moore. So we're proud of our legacy, but it didn't come without struggles. So these essential facts, I mentioned most of them, although we're the most diverse, and it says it with AAVMC, but I'm looking for some of those numbers at the other schools to catch up, and I know you can. So the 2% of veterinarians are African Americans, and of that 2%, 70% came from Tuskegee. Now you know that's not good for the veterinary profession. So y'all catch up. You can do it. So we have alumni everywhere. They represent all phases. We're actually all aspects of the veterinary profession because we're trained to do that. And we hold key leadership positions. All of the African American deans in the US veterinary schools graduated from Tuskegee University. And here they are. I've already mentioned Dr. James Ferguson, Dr. Alfonso Atkinson, and myself. I'm the 7th and the first female dean. And I really didn't think about that as being the first. I didn't really want to be a dean. How about that? I enjoy being an associate dean. But when challenges are presented your way, and you know that you can make a difference, it's time to say, I'll try that. And that's what I did. And I have not regretted it. And I became dean in 2014. And I want to continue to make a difference around diversity. I have not wavered from that. The other deans from Tuskegee but went to other schools to make a difference, because you can't just stay home. You got to leave home. You got to leave home and you got to make a difference. So who are those? So Dr. Michael Blackwell, 1975, Dean of University of Tennessee. Dr. Willie Reed at Purdue University, and Dr. Philip Nelson at Western University, Health Sciences. Notice all of those 70s. So from 1973, Atkinson down to Philip Nelson, we all were in school together. But I believe that the dean that we had at that time was T.S. Williams. And I remember T.S. Williams saying, we need leaders. And I think that must have set well with us. Dr. Bowie, you all have to make a difference. You all got to do what it takes to change the veterinary medicine landscape. Make a difference. So there we go. All of us. Wouldn't it be great if you, a person of color from another university other than Tuskegee, become a dean? All righty, that's your challenge. And you can do it. So here we are. All of the deans, not many. They tend to stay a long time. I do not plan to stay a long time. But here we are. So diversity and inclusion. And I want to acknowledge the Tuskegee grads who are a part of this symposium, and first in their own respective universities and organizations that's making significant contributions to diversity and inclusion in veterinary medical education. And thank all of you who've had some influence on students as role models and support of them to achieving their dream. We have a proud legacy of educating LUMBEE Indian veterinarians as well. We've educated 8, but it started with the recruitment efforts of Dr. Ellis Hall. And they're listed there. Dr. Hall is the very first male board certified veterinary radiologist. And he mentored me, and I'm the first female. And both of us are in Tuskegee. So thank you, Dr. Hall. So Dr. Paul Lund and I met at University of North Carolina at Pembroke. And we started a pipeline program with pre-vet med scholars. And that program is viable today. And thank you, Dr. Lund, for meeting me on July 4th at the parade, so that we can start and show and demonstrate evidence that those pipeline programs work. So we prepare our students as leaders. And I just want to point out Vet Life, Dr. Blue, Dr. Ross, and Dr. Levine. And then these are the animal fixers from Georgia, Dr. Hodges and Dr. Ferguson. So we have some entrepreneurs and celebrities on television. So they make us proud as well. And I leave this part with the viewpoint from Dean T.S. Williams, who is a Kansas State University graduate. And he says, we have achieved something in having an accredited school at an all-Black institution in the Deep South that many didn't think was possible. And how many times do we start a journey, we go, oh my gosh, I don't think I'm gonna make it. In fact, he said, even some of the faculty didn't think it was possible with the amount of challenges. Then he said, you know, you can achieve a whole lot of things if you simply don't know that it isn't possible. So if you know it's possible, you can achieve. So thank you, Dr. Williams. So diversity and inclusion is working in a diverse and multicultural organization or any educational environment, but you learn several things. that there are some unique challenges and there are some great benefits. So you have to weigh those. Although the challenges, but the benefits outweigh those. So it's critical to be open to differences. Don't be offensive. It's called for a conversation. It's okay, they're gonna be difficult, but that's how we learn. And it's important to ask for our input and develop a trusting relationship. If you don't mean it, don't say it. Don't tell me. I'd rather you just not say anything. But diversity and inclusion, that's very important in our environment and in our profession, in the workplace, and in our educational systems. So how do you foster that? You model it. You model an environment. People have various identities and value their contributions and their perspectives. And, you know, sometimes you be in a conversation and for us as people of color, we know that. I mean, it's one of those where you say it, but you don't really mean it. We know what that feels like and we know what it sounds like. So be genuine with it and be honest. So the efforts must be genuine and long-term. It's not a reaction. Let's try not to react to something, please. Whatever you do, you want to make sure it sustains. You got to be intentional. It's got to be sustainable. And you want to leave a demonstrated mark or a legacy to make a difference. Not just a one-time thing. Okay, I've done that. I've checked that box. It's more than that. So best practices and models that are successful. Pipeline programs. As I said one time, there are Black people in every state. There are people of color in every state. You got to be intentional. You got to find those champions and those advocates. Find some money. Scholarships as incentives to recruit students of color. But most of all, you got to have a supportive environment. You got to remove those barriers. And I've heard before that the admissions commitment is the very first one. Isolation. Let's try to do more than one student of color. Derogatory language. And then the comment is, oh, but they didn't mean anything by that. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Don't tolerate that. When you develop MOUs, can you find some money? It's more than just putting it on paper. Find some money. If you're intentional, you want it to work. Internships, residencies, find some money. And that's how you get started. This slide I put in here because we have a course that all first-year students have to take, and it includes diversity, equity, and inclusion. And this picture speaks volumes, and you don't have to say anything more. And we've used it in many cases to demonstrate equity versus equality. So in our course, the presenter talks about cultural competence, diversity, equity, and inclusion. So it includes activities, case studies, and engagement where students actually can learn their own internal biases. Even though we are diverse, we still have our own internal biases. We still have problems and concerns about students and faculty, understanding their different cultures. Even though we're diverse, we still have to learn that we have a diversity and inclusion committee, and this consists of faculty, staff, and students. And they're responsible for hosting at least one event per semester as a lunch and learn. And so during the COVID-19 environment, we're having virtual presentations. And we were so thankful to have Regina Carey, just on the October the 22nd to talk about hidden disabilities. Because sometimes, not sometimes, many times faculty in particular they don't even see it. They're not even aware of the hidden disabilities of students. So we figure we'll start with them first. Now I didn't get all of them. I got half of them. So I'm bringing her back to get the other half because the students already recognize. It's just that the faculty and staff need to recognize. So that was a very good, so if any of you all know her, you should have her to come and do a virtual presentation. She was excellent. So creating a culture of health and wellness, and this is my last part, is it takes more than, for students to get through academically, it's more than just their academics. We have to create a culture of health and wellness for students. They come with so many challenges. And so I just heard on the speaker who were talking about the vulnerability of students in this rigorous environment in the curriculum already. And now it's impacted by the pandemic. And students sometimes are afraid to say anything, especially to faculty, because then they be thinking, okay, it's everywhere. It's not just at Tuskegee. I mean, I remember students at Michigan State. But you want to adopt a program. And so for us, health and well-being, we started a program about 3 years ago. And so for each of us, even myself, I have to have a personal compass on wellness. And on my to-do list, even though it's 17 pages, okay, it's 17 pages, but it includes those things that I've done already. But at the very top, it says, be mindful, even though your mind is full. That I know it by heart, be mindful. And I have to keep looking at that. So then I won't be overcome with all of the stressors of trying to run a college, trying to navigate within the university, trying to make sure the students are okay, trying to find funding, even though we're gonna get cut, just like all the other schools. Where's the money? How are we gonna survive? How are we gonna run a medical program? Stressors, but be mindful. And I can only set priorities of what I can do. And I'm preaching to myself. And so I have to be mindful so that I can keep well and keep healthy so I can help somebody else. So sustaining healthy lifestyles, this is what the Health and Wellbeing Committee discussed with students. We're in a high stress profession. We already know that 1 out of 6 veterinarians have already considered suicide. And thank AVMA for this website. So we send students there as free resources for the students because they are under intense stress in this COVID environment. So these are just some of the activities that we did before COVID-19, and the chair massage, I have done that. That is good. If you haven't done that, that's great. We do our 5K. We did a virtual 5K this year. I do want that. I participated in that last year and the year before, and that's good. So it's not just academics, it's physical well-being as well. So this is run by the Office of Academic Affairs. This is a Taste of Wellness program where we have a list of activities. Again, this is what we did before the pandemic. And so she was able to do all of those. And now because of the food, we're not doing food, of course, because this is before the pandemic. But she came up with all kinds of activities that students were so appreciative, because you just want to let them know that it's okay. We're here for you. I wish we could have more faculty like that. Then we invited Get Motivated to talk to our faculty, staff, and students. I made it required, actually. And then after I did that, they came back and thanked me so much for what they had to say. And so I was unable to get them back this semester because of our shortened semester, but I want them as part of the curriculum. So Dr. Holly and Renee, they did a wonderful job last year when they came. If you haven't invited them, invite them as part of your curriculum. So what are we doing during COVID-19 for health and well-being? So we just had October the 27th, they had a mental health, managing stress and anxiety. And so we're going to be doing more of those during the lunch hour. We were trying to find a way that we could give the students their lunch in some type of gift card, but then we found out there's a glitch with the university. We can't do gift cards. And so now we're kind of trying to work out the details of how we can do that so students can at least have, even though they're not in the environment, that they can have funds to pay for lunch. We call this bright days ahead. And we keep saying this through this pandemic. They're bright days ahead. And then we give them a list of resources for the campus. So the campus has really been really involved with our students, and we appreciate them for that. And my last slide talks about, I used this slide before in another presentation, is that these are Labrador retrievers. I didn't realize it was so many colors. They come in a variety of colors. They're loved just the same. They are treated equally just the same, no matter what color they are. They don't fight each other because they're different color or differences. So when it comes right down to it, they're all labs. So dear humans, that's to us. Do better, be better. Be like our loving Labrador retrievers. So individuals, organizations, universities can be intentional about creating and sustaining a legacy of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I thank you for listening.
Thank you so much. Based on the comments alone, I would imagine that there would probably be a lot of people standing right now, and you're in applause right now. So thank you so much for this presentation. Thank you for the history. Looking through the chat, I think that was new to many of us, including some that attended Auburn University's College of Veterinary Medicine. So very grateful for your perspectives. And I was also struck by the impact of every single person that you mentioned and highlighted, every single leader on so many that are part of our audience right now. And I think one of my takeaways from that is both honoring the tremendous impact those individuals have had on the careers of so many, but also the abdication of responsibility that so many other vet schools had to recognize, mentor, and enable that talent to be in our profession. And I think that many of the vet schools you noted are ones I've spent time at, Ohio State and Michigan State. We lost the thread, and I accept very much the challenge for the predominantly white institutions to pick up and do the work that we should always have been doing. We have just a little bit of time for questions. I'll make sure you look through the chat, Dr. Perry, because there's a lot of really wonderful messages to you and to many of the people that you referenced. One question from Dr. Cowan is about the family atmosphere of Tuskegee, and what could we do across other CBMs to try to create that culture of family?
And so the first thing you can do is, how about calling the student by name? How about learning their names? Now, although you all have larger numbers, and I was at Michigan State and I knew the students by name. So what it is, it's intentional. That means that they're important. So even if you might not remember, then have a composite in your office and get to know that student. It doesn't take much. I mean, for a student to if you walk, when I at Tuskegee, there were the deans and department heads, faculty. They walked around. Sometimes we have to come out of our offices and out of our spaces. But a lot of times, faculty don't even want to be bothered. Yeah, you do. That's true, because I've been one. But we got to get over that. If you're talking about a family, think about your own family. And when you come home from work, you don't just, okay, hi, this person, hi, okay, then go to your room. No, what do? You engage. You engage. And that takes a little effort and a little time. So you're not, I'm not asking you to know all 100, and some of you got 150 students. But you don't have that many in the class that you're teaching. If you're talking about 150 times 4, that's a lot of students. But if you're teaching 4th year, how about know the students 4th year? You might not know them first. How about that? If you can start there, that's a start. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. And again, I wish I could be there in person to see you. And I am so grateful to know you. And I'm so grateful for your giving us of your time today. And I know that the rest of the group on the chat, based on the comments, which again, I hope you'll read, were equally honored to be part of this conversation. So thank you so very much.
And you're welcome. And I go ahead and respond to the ones that Peter, I go ahead and respond to the ones by chat.
Okay, thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Dr. Nelson. It was a pleasure.
And my